I'm going on an African journey. I'm listening to a thing to tell me where to go. I'm gonna put a headphone on the mic, see if it works.
You are about to step into the world of Stephen. Let yourself go into his world now. The land of Africa, where life can be abundant and full, but also be difficult. Can you hear the land calling you? Pulling you into Stephen's world? Are you ready to experience Stephen's life? When you are ready, advance to the next track. Then begin your journey by going through the curtain marked Stephen.
The AK-47. I think it's supposed to go next.
Nope. It played for me.
Does it start with water?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't want to skip it.
That is good. You have just entered a world with sights and sounds based on the life of Stephen. You are now in northern Uganda and the village where you live. Family is important here. You have a mother, a father, a sister Lily, and a brother Oliver. Although your family doesn't have much, food, clean water, and proper health care are scarce. At least your mom and dad are alive. In Uganda and throughout sub-Saharan Africa, kids like you often live without one or both of their parents. In fact, the AIDS crisis claims another mother or father about every 15 seconds. Before we continue, stop for a moment in front of the map and let me introduce you to the country of Uganda and the AIDS crisis there. It is widely agreed that Uganda is ground zero of the HIV/AIDS epidemic. The first widespread epidemic of HIV and AIDS took place in the Rakai district in 1981. By the early 1990s, the HIV infection rate in Uganda had soared to 21%. This country of 27 million people is still being devastated by the disease. Nowhere are the effects of AIDS more apparent than in the northern region of Uganda, where you live. Here, infection rates are much higher, and many of the country's 900,000 orphans call this area home. Although progress is being made dealing with this situation, many people are dying every day. Today, though, it's another enemy of children that is about to rip your family apart. Please, step through the curtain. This is where you sleep, Stephen. Feel free to sit or lie on the mat and think back to the day that changed the course of your life. Close your eyes and remember, it is a warm August night. You've been sleeping peacefully next to your brother for several hours when you are suddenly awakened. Armed men are searching through your house. They're from a rebel group called the Lord's Resistance Army, or the LRA. This group is fighting a war with the people of your country. They are looking for children. They take children as young as 8 years old to be soldiers, porters, and sex slaves. They have come for you, Stephen.
I woke up to sounds in the house, and that's when they grabbed me and my brother.
My dad tried to stop them, but they had guns. One of them stuck a gun in my back and told me to walk. Another gave me a heavy bag of food to carry. It hurt my back and my arms to march like that. I was so scared. I just wanted my mom and dad. But with every step, I was getting further and further from home. We walked nearly 10 miles that night.
You're part of a generation of children in northern Uganda who are suffering unimaginable atrocities. Children as young as 8 are routinely abducted from their homes and families, forced to fight as soldiers or serve as sex slaves in a war over power. For nearly 20 years, this conflict has continued unabated, with little recognition or assistance from the global community. The LRA distorts scripture and invents religious rituals to manipulate abducted children, who are held as hostages and then forced to fight and perform atrocities against their own families and communities, creating a sense of shame and despair. If a child attempts to escape, the rebels force the other abducted children to kill the would-be escapee, usually with clubs or machetes. Soldiers give them orders such as, walk over this child until he is dead. Cut this man into small pieces and roast him like meat. All these crimes are designed to break the wills of children like you. Girls, some as young as 10, are given to commanders to serve as both soldiers and sex slaves. They are raped repeatedly and forced to bear the children of men who sexually abuse them. Because of this, many are infected with HIV. Let's continue with your story, Stephen. Please step through the curtain.
They beat us a lot in the early days. Anything wrong that we did, anytime we got tired, they beat us. There was never a single happy moment for me. To survive, I had to join them. They gave me a gun and taught me how to be a soldier. Then, they forced me to go out with them on attacks. I used the gun.
Go ahead and pick up the gun in front of you for a moment. Feel its weight. You pulled the smooth metal trigger many times, shooting your countrymen and other children. The months you spent in the merciless hands of the LRA soldiers dragged on. You committed...
Videotape me. Put it like that.
And children have lived in constant fear of being abducted, like you were, Stephen. While you look at the images under the area titled, They Hide at Night, I will explain how some tried to avoid being kidnapped. Because LRA soldiers often abducted children from unprotected rural villages under the cover of darkness, many parents would urge their children to walk up to 10 miles each night to nearby cities in search of a safer place to sleep. This trend was known as night commuting. Many night commuters had no option but to sleep on the streets or in makeshift refugee camps. Often they were exploited through rape, violence, and entrapment into child labor. At times of heightened insecurity, it was not uncommon for tens of thousands of children to seek shelter in these makeshift urban camps. Despite the manifest dangers of the city streets, most parents considered night commuting a better alternative for their children than risking abduction by the LRA. This gripping fear and these difficult choices are a part of the daily lives of vulnerable children in regions like yours around the world besieged by conflict. World Vision responds to these crises by working alongside communities to protect and care for children and to advocate for them. Let's continue with your journey, Stephen. You've been in the LRA ranks for nearly a year now. You no longer look for opportunities to escape. Their strategy of having you beat and help kill children who have tried to escape has worked. And you believe them when they tell you that if anyone outside of the LRA captures you, they will poison you and kill you. You are a rebel soldier now. But one day, the unexpected happens. You are out on an attack mission to the village of Koro, just 3 miles from your home. Before you and the other soldiers make the attack, you are ambushed by northern Ugandan forces. The Ugandan troops overwhelm your small group. You drop your gun. You surrender. There's no doubt in your mind that these troops will torture you and kill you. But they don't. Instead, the Ugandan soldiers take you by truck to a center where there are other children. Some of them you recognize from the past year. They are singing and smiling as they greet you. You've come to the Gulu Children of War Rehabilitation Center.
That's what it says on the sign.
In March 1995, World Vision opened the Gulu Children of War Rehabilitation Center, the first of its kind, to assist 30 former child soldiers. Since then, 11,000 children have come through the Gulu Center in preparation to return to their families. When trucks arrive at the center with new children, a bell rings and everyone runs to greet the former soldiers. As they gather, they sing Swinyawa Yoma Ayoma, which means we are happy. We are so happy if we see our friends, if we receive our friends. This often emotional greeting is a very important first step of the rehabilitation of child soldiers. When children arrive at the center, they are relieved to see other former soldiers alive and well and warmly welcoming them. The center cares for children, young mothers, new babies, and adults who have escaped from the ranks of the LRA.
I thought the World Vision staff were going to kill me. That's what I'd been taught to expect over the last year. That I would be shot or poisoned if I escaped and returned home.
But that is not what happened. You are well cared for at the center and given the chance to talk about what happened. You are among friends. The healing you feel inside is tangible. There is peace. You are ready to go home. But will they accept you back after all you have done to harm your neighbors? You've walked a year in Stephen's shoes, but your journey today isn't quite over. Step through the curtain and advance to the next track.
To the next.
Stephen, please go into the health clinic and take a seat. I'll tell you why you are here